Hello everybody, I know I'm a bit late on this week's, it's been a bit of a busy week, so I didn't quite get a chance to review as many games as I wanted or do my pick'ems in time, but I wanted to get them done just in case. Obviously last week was the double header week, so there were a lot of games to go over, and even if I'm not going to analyze them right now because we're in the middle of the season, and I don't want to analyze like a week old games when all the games are over, I will be analyzing them in the off season because we won't have the World Championship. There'll be a little bit of a gap of games I could analyze, so I'm probably going to go back and analyze a lot of these games just at the off-season, like as a way to keep up in the Rocket League spirit. So this week, even though I'm a few days late, or a day late, I didn't get my NA picks in time, I wanted to talk about my picks for them, so I took a screenshot of the schedule and covered the picks. I didn't look at them or anything. And so yeah, I only watched one game. I watched the C9 Susquehanna game, and I'll definitely be doing a review on that. So yeah, let's get into it. First Cloud9 Susquehanna Sonics. I totally would have picked Susquehanna in this, even though Cloud9 were coming off of a week where they swept NRG. They only gave up 3 goals in like 20 minutes of game time almost. It's insane. But they did get specced around by Space Station right beforehand. And I think Cloud9, honestly, they were able to beat NRG because they've played them for so many years. Even if Cloud9 struggles against a lot of the newer teams and everything, they have a lot of experience against these NRG players. And I think that was a big factor coming into it. And I think Cloud9, yeah, I think they're a good team and they looked good after Energy, but not good as C9 or as Susquehanna. C9 still one of the worst teams in the league as far as standings at this point. Until the Cloud9 Susquehanna game, which was nuts. Space Station Rogue, I totally would go Space Station with this as well. Space Station coming off of a week where they only dropped one game against Cloud9 and Flight combined. So Space Station really handling C9 pretty well, even though C9 would go on to beat Energy. And then only conceding in one game against Flight. So very, very solid series from them. I expected Space Station Gaming to come away with this. Flight versus Susquehanna. And again, I think Susquehanna would come away with it here. Even though Susquehanna actually did end up losing to Cloud9 earlier this day. I don't know what happens in this game. And so even though at this time, I think they just came off a tough loss against Cloud9, I think they'll be able to take down Flight. Susquehanna obviously looking like one of the big Cinderella stories. One of the best teams in the league, even though they don't really have that big name reputation behind them. Ghost Gaming versus Cloud9. Now this one's more interesting because Cloud9 did just beat NRG, and Ghost Gaming isn't quite as scary as Susquehanna at the moment, I don't think, but I think Ghost Gaming should come away with this. Ghost Gaming, of course, coming off of a big win against G2 and Rogue in the double header week, and that's nuts. So that's really cool for them. Ghost Gaming really needed to turn around the season last week, and they did that. They proved that they deserve to be at the top, because Ghost Gaming, they always looked like they had the play to be a top of the table team, but I just couldn't put it together to get those wins. And so last week really boosted their chances. I think they should be able to take down Cloud9. Pittsburgh Knights versus E United, big matchup. Yeah, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh Knights should be able to come away with this. Both teams have looked really flat this season and underwhelming, but I think E United are just way too. They don't do anything proactive with the ball. They're really weak on the ball. And so I think Pittsburgh Knights should be able to come away with this, even though last week, every single game they played last week, they played 3 games, all of them went to Game 5. Game 5 against Susquehanna, Game 5 against NRG, Game 5 against Rogue. And they didn't win any of them, but I think they'll finally be able to pull it out against E United. Really rough week for Pittsburgh Knights. Like, 3 Game 5s? That's nuts. If you flip 2 out of those 3 results, you're looking at a completely different season for this team. It's a real big bummer for them. I think they could have had, either of the series against Susquehanna or Rogue, but they didn't pull away with it, so they got to do something here to avoid that relegation spot. And then Energy versus G2, huge game of the week. I'm really impressed with how G2 have been playing this week, or this season. They did just come off of a big loss against Ghost, though, but Energy also lost against Cloud9, and so it's kind of like, oh boy, both these teams just got upset. What do you do here? But overall, I've been more impressed with G2's play throughout the season, so I'm going to go with them. And then moving into Europe, big week for these guys. Last week there really weren't a ton of upsets on week 5, but then week 6 was a bit more interesting. Yeah, coming in, Dignitas versus Endpoint. Dignitas took their first loss of the season. Both their games went to Game 5. They took Barcelona to Game 5 and Vitality to Game 5, ended up losing to Vitality. So that's a bit of a bummer, but they still should easily handle Endpoint. If you ask me, Dignitas one of the best teams in the world. Reciprocity versus TSM. Now that's a different story. Reciprocity have looked really bad, and TSM have looked okay. Not really. Like it's like a different TSM. Even though they were really bad, they've slowly gotten better, but to the point where it's literally done nothing to affect their results. They're still so bad. It's just like a barely noticeable improvement, if you ask me. Reciprocity should be able to come away with it. Singularity versus Endpoint, 2 of the new boys in town. I'm gonna give this one to Endpoint. I think, yeah, Endpoint just coming off of a 3-0 win against TSM, but Singularity did take Barcelona to Game 5. But I do think Endpoint should come away with it. Veloce Dignitas. Dignitas, again, one of the best teams in the world that just took Barcelona and Vitality to a Game 5, showing that they deserve to be at the top of the league, if not top 2, top 1. And Veloce coming off of a disappointing 3-0 sweep against Mouse, which is a really disappointing result for them. They could have really put a stamp on this season if they took down Mouse, but weren't even able to take a game, so Dignitas should be able to handle this one. I think Veloce's playstyle, really good against mid-table and low-table teams, but struggle when you get against the top-tier teams. Barcelona versus Monaco, this one should be a walkover as well. Barcelona obviously coming off of 2 Game 5s against Dignitas, they lost, and Singularity they won. So I think they should be able to take down Monaco, who are looking really, really weak on offense, and they aren't going to be able to handle Barcelona's pressure and insane offensive capabilities this week. And Vitality versus Mouse. Now we're getting interesting, because Mouse is kind of on a roll. Mouse, on their past 4 games, has only dropped 1, which was to TSM in a Game 5. But other than that, they've beaten Singularity, TSM, and Veloce. And so all of those wins aren't against the best teams in the world, but now you're playing them. You're on a decent run here. What can you do? But I think Vitality should be able to come away with it. Vitality proving they could be the best team in the world, coming off of wins against Reciprocity and Dignitas. So I think Vitality should be able to take this, but it will be a really good week for both leagues, both regions. And obviously you guys know in advance already who won the NA games, but I didn't get a chance to watch them. So I was like, I want to get my pick-ins. I didn't watch them on purpose yesterday because I knew I wouldn't have a chance to like really watch them consistently throughout the day. I'd have to like watch in for like a minute here, a minute there, and I didn't want to spoil the scores for myself. So as the time of this being uploaded, I'm definitely going to be binge watching those games before the Europe games start today. So everybody, I've been Emrat. Thanks for watching.